Hello everybody and welcome to another video tutorial. For this week's tutorial you guys voted and you guys chose the Banshee, so I did work on this piece. Now the first thing I obviously did, as I always start off, is I'll research some of the mythology to get a better understanding of where this mythology comes from, character traits, and how to actually approach the painting style. Now I did a couple things before I could actually work on this. Obviously I did the research, but I actually downloaded also some additional brushes to give me some smoke effects, because smoke effects could be very time consuming to paint by hand, and since I obviously don't have as much time as I would like sometimes, I wanted a faster way of doing these smoke effects, because I really wanted to show that the character was not completely in this physical world, but also had this mysterious and mystical aspect to her. So in order to do this, I went online and I actually just downloaded some free open source brushes that had the smoke effects added to them, and I used them later on in this painting, not in the initial stages, because generally that's for effects and you want to add that after. But in this stage right now I'm doing the rough work. What I also discovered though is, as I was reading some of the mythology, I mainly used Wikipedia, I did use my encyclopedia as well, mythology, is that the Banshee was not necessarily an evil creature. It was more of an entity that could foretell of an incoming death in very specific families or groups. So it seems almost as if it's tied within a certain family or clan, essentially, depending on the mythos that you're looking at. Which is very interesting, just because in some of the TV series I've seen, the Banshee's almost seen as a villain, but in this case it's not necessarily that she's a villain, but more that she's actually just telling you what's actually going to happen, that something bad is going to happen to a set person that you're related to or you know, which was very interesting. So because I was taking that viewpoint as I was working on this painting, I obviously didn't want her to be evil. Now I did have the option of making her older. I did choose to make her younger, just because in this case it seemed to suit the character more. If I had this character more in the shadows, more away from the light, I probably would have made her a lot older looking, but since that's not the atmosphere that I was going for in this painting, I made her much younger in this interpretation. So as you can see, I'm working on the corset design right now and some clothing elements. As I work on this, I am looking at different corset designs online, trying to find out how I'm going to actually paint this. And I'm also playing a lot with the different brushes that I have. I'm trying to see which ones work better, which ones give me the overall look that I'm looking for, and I'm switching between a lot of different brushes throughout this painting. I do end up using, I think, a total of 5 different brushes for this painting alone. I used the texture brush that I've been using in the past couple of videos. I used a soft round brush, and I used the rest of them were actually effect brushes designed to simulate smoke effects. So I used quite a bit of variety of those different brushes, as well as foliage brushes near the end of the painting for the background. Now all that these brushes do though is essentially to just speed up the drawing process. You can fairly easily do these by hand, but it does take quite a bit more time in order to actually paint out some of those details. It's just generally more efficient to use a brush if you have that possibility. You could also alternatively use a texture that you found online that's royalty free and isn't copyrighted in any way. In this case I prefer to use brushes because first of all I don't have to worry about copyright as much. Generally, most of the brushes that artists use, they post online for free. It's not really an issue to get free brushes in general. But textures can get you into some trouble depending on who the photographer is and what the source material is from. So I tend to avoid it a bit more in comparison to using custom brushes. You can also, once you start modifying that brush and its attributes, it essentially does become a different brush too. So you can technically, to a certain degree, avoid copyright infringement by doing that. Because the brush isn't creating the piece, it's also not taking over that aspect in general, then you also don't have to worry as much about that. So I'm just adding some color layers, some color burn layers, just to help make some of the darker areas and regions more pronounced. I do want to have a fairly high level of contrast between different parts of the character. This is really important because it does really help make the character pop out from the background, and also it helps draw your attention towards specific areas of the painting. Now at this stage I've started actually working on the face and actually adding some of the detail elements. Until this point I've kept everything very basic essentially for the face and hands and feet. Now I'm actually working out those details because I have a better idea of how much detail I want to add in those areas. Since essentially this character is foretelling the death of essentially a loved one or somebody who's important, I wanted her to be almost fearful of this death, even though she knows it's coming. She's not looking forward to this. This is not something that she enjoys singing about, but it is essentially her job, so she does do it. So I really wanted that emotional state to read through in this painting. So I hope you guys enjoyed this painting, and I hope to see you guys soon. So thank you and take care.